showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
I want to welcome everybody out today to episode 220 of I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name's Chris Hollifield. I am your host. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me again as I continue the journey here in Salt Lake City, continue chatting with the locals, the professionals, everyday people that are making the city a really awesome place to live, making it a place that I know I could be proud to call home. Today on the podcast, this is a live recording that was recorded on Friday, April 8th, part of Connect at the Urban Arts Gallery right in downtown Salt Lake City, right at the Gateway Mall. This is a pretty new thing that I'm doing for the podcast. This is only the second time I've done it. It's going to be every month, the second Friday. It's open to the public, open for anybody who wants to come and check this out. I urge you, come to the next live podcast recording, the second Friday of May. It's going to be a really good time. Make sure to follow along on social media. I'll let you know more about it. But this recording, like I said, was Friday, April 8th. I'm joined by Amir Jackson. We have a really great conversation. We're going to be getting into that here in just a minute. I, of course, want to tell you about Oleo Skin and Beard. Great local company right here in Salt Lake City. They're making all kinds of great beard oils, skin oils, tattoo oils, a really great beard balm for helping moisturize the beard and helping shape that. Lots of great beard products, lots of great skin products. Go check them out. oleoskin.com is where you can learn more about them. You can use the promo code IAMSaltLake at checkout. It's going to give you 25% off of your entire purchase. Just use it right there on the website. And make sure to keep your eyes out for them. They're going to be all around Salt Lake City here this summer at the Downtown Farmers Market, some different markets, different festivals. And when you see them, let them know that you heard about them on I Am Salt Lake, and let them know what you think of their products. Before we jump into this episode, I want to tell you about Crucial Fest. It's a great festival, great music fest, happening June 15th through the 18th right here in Salt Lake City. Tons of great bands. If you've been following the podcast, I've been chatting with them in the last few years. This year's lineup is blowing me out of the water. We got Form of Rocket, the New Transit Direction, tons of other great local bands, including Heartless Breakers, Baby Girl, Worst Friends, Oxcross, Thunder Fist. I mean, this is a great lineup of bands. Go check out their website, crucialfest.com. I'm really excited to be part of it again this year. I Am Salt Lake is a proud sponsor of Crucial Fest. So make sure to buy your tickets early. You can buy them right there from the website. And stay tuned as they unleash the schedule. Again, Crucial Fest 6, crucialfest.com. Go head on over to the website. Find out more about Crucial Fest. Like I said, on today's episode, I sit down with Amir Jackson at Connect. We have a really great conversation. He's part of Nurture the Creative Mind right up in Ogden. He's got tons of great insight, tons to talk about. We're also joined by some great audience questions. This is a really good time, and hopefully I will see more of you at future Connects. Again, the second Friday of every month. I do want to read a little bit about Connect, though, here really quick. At Connect, we believe creativity can change the world. Every month, we hold free open call art events where all visual artists can encourage with their community and share their genius. Artists have an opportunity to show up to 2 pieces of their original art, win a portion of a $4,000 grant, and listen to art professionals on how to make it in the art world. Connect is a program of the Utah Arts Alliance. Really good time. This is a great recording. So I'm not gonna chat anymore. Let's jump into that recording. Like I said, I have a little chat with Scott Tuckfield at the end and Jesse Feveryear. So make sure to stay tuned for that as well.
So that is all that I have to say, and I'm thrilled to announce our second ever podcast in the entire world. with Chris Hollifield and Amir Jackson. Oh, and also our other panelist was not able to make it tonight because she had a very unfortunate thing happen to her, a friend of hers, so she will not be here. So our heart goes out to her most sincerely, and I will get out of the way.
We ready?
We're ready.
All right. Hey, I want to welcome everybody out tonight. Like Michael said, this is the second I Am Salt Lake podcast that we've done with Connect. Last month was a lot of fun. I don't know if anybody had a chance to listen to it. You can go to iamsaltlake.com and listen to that episode if you would like. Like Michael said, I'm Chris Hollifield. I am the host of the podcast, and looks like Amir Jackson is going to be joining me up here. We're going to be chatting, and I'm going to open it up to audience. If anybody wants to come up here, we have a seat up here with a microphone when I invite anybody up. If anybody has any thoughts to chime in on a subject that we talk about or anything like that, you'll see as we get this podcast unfolded and unveiled here. I'm going to kind of start with you, Amir, though. Just kind of give us a little bit of an introduction, what it is you do, a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am the founder and director of a local youth nonprofit called Nurture the Creative Mind that operates out of Ogden, Utah. It is a youth nonprofit dedicated to youth empowerment, the establishment of youth self-value through creative development as well as marketable skills.
How long have you been involved with that?
About 9 years. We just had our 9th anniversary just recently.
Wow, so for quite a while.
Yes.
What, being involved with that, I mean, do you have like a major obstacle or struggle that you've had to overcome?
So I think that the major obstacle that I've had to overcome is fear of failure. And it's a pretty regular occurrence, you know. I would say that it's decently consistent, the thought or the possibility of failure. So it's one of those obstacles that, I find myself overcoming, having to overcome pretty regularly, weekly, daily.
So what do you do to get over your fear? I mean, do you have any tips that you would offer listeners or people in the audience tonight, or things you've discovered that help you out?
I think that the number one thing for me is I see fear as a positive thing, you know.
Really?
Yeah, I actually do. I can't recall a time that I was fearful of something and then overcame it and didn't come out better on the other end. So fear for me is almost like a sign for growth.
Sure.
Yeah.
How have you observed people behave when they don't get the kinds of art opportunities they desire?
I think that, artists are extremely passionate. They should be about their craft. There's a lot of emotions that go through a person when they're not accepted. And I feel like when their art piece isn't accepted, they feel as if they as a person haven't been accepted. And that's because I think a lot of artists pour their soul into their work. So sure. I think that it's not just disappointing on a professional level, but it's actually disappointing on a very, very personal level for a lot of artists.
Kind of even goes back to fear.
Yeah,
like you were
absolutely.
Talking about, dealing with fear and putting yourself out there. Anybody in the audience have anything they want to chime in on that, on how you observed people behave when they don't get the kinds of art opportunities that they desire? Open it up to audience. If anybody out in the audience has anything they want to, it's fine if you don't. Amir, who should you look to for feedback?
I think that you should be open to feedback from anyone who's willing to give it to you.
Sure.
I believe that you never know what type of illumination is going to happen, what type of fresh perspective you're going to get. I think that there's no age limit to feedback. There's no background to feedback. Take it all. Sometimes.
But if somebody's giving you constant negative feedback and you don't deserve it, you obviously wouldn't want to keep going back to that.
Yeah, but that's another perspective, because if that negative feedback makes you stronger, then it's actually a good positive, you know.
Sure.
If negative feedback makes you want to prove someone wrong or try harder, as negative as it is, it could be a positive thing for you. Like that return on investment could be delayed in the future. So, but it is annoying. Let's be clear. It's very frustrating to get negative feedback from someone, especially those that you trust or you respect. But then again, I go back to the first statement of it may be a positive thing.
Well, yeah, you can learn from it.
Yeah.
As long as it's a constant learning experience.
And can I say something about the artist disappointment? I think that's a really important piece, because the artist, when you really are showing your piece, it's almost as if you are not just like bearing your passion, but it's like it's almost like you're walking through a gallery naked, right? Like you're exposing yourself. And I think that's why it's so disappointing, because, in order for you to take that step, to take the step of bearing yourself, walking through naked, you have to be courageous in order to do that. So the disappointment is real. It's almost palatable, when and no matter how many artists say, "Oh, I don't care," we all do.
Sure.
We all care. I guess there's varying degrees, but the disappointment is real. But that feeling, if nothing else, that should be embraced. Like I wouldn't want an artist to, not be disappointed when they expose themselves. I think that if you just don't care, you should reevaluate what you're doing.
How should an artist handle not getting into the gallery, venue, festival of their choice?
I think that is a very interesting question. I have a hard time telling people how they should feel about something. I will say that, like, to my last point, I think that they should just feel, like, embrace that feeling. Make sure you're feeling something. Immerse yourself in it. Figure out why you're feeling that way. Just because that comes through, I believe, in my opinion, that comes through in your art. If you are passionate, if you're really feeling, if it's raw, that emotion comes through. So how you should feel, I'm not sure, but just make sure you're feeling something.
Because everybody feels something different,
Yeah.
Everybody has different emotions and feelings and the way they express that. Anybody in the audience care to give any feedback or thoughts on that, on how to handle if you don't get into a gallery or festival, or anybody in the audience want to?
We have Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah, come on up.
We have Jolly Ranchers.
If you want to come over here and if it's easier to take a seat, make sure the microphone's on there.
Check. Okay.
And why don't you state your name? I know I chatted with you actually earlier. Mm-hmm. Just say your name for the recording.
I'm Scott Tuckfield.
Thank you for coming up here.
Absolutely. So how should someone respond to
how should an artist handle not getting into a gallery or venue or festival?
I mean, for one, I certainly agree with Amir that you can't really tell someone that they should feel one way or another. It's just going to happen to them regardless. But I think the most constructive way to react to a situation like that is to use it as fuel, as motivation to improve your work so that you do get into the next one. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I always do when I am disappointed. It just means that I have to work harder. I have to do better. I have to improve.
But have you always felt that way?
Yes.
Really?
I mean,
I'm sure there's been times where you've gotten down.
Oh God, yeah. I'm one of those artist guys, and so my emotions are completely out of control. It's ridiculous, actually. It's a constant hilarious adventure. But yeah, so I get devastated. I won't lie to you. I take things very personally. I get sad and I get despairing and I think, oh, I've wasted my life. Woe is me, and so on and so forth. But in the end, you just have to keep going.
Sure.
If you want to do art, if you want to be an artist, like it wasn't about that one show. It's about doing it year after year, day after day, for as long as you want to do it. And you have to want to do it despite disappointments.
You got to keep going.
And I think that, what I'm going to say is going to come across as like one of those cheesy cliches that are on a T-shirt, but I really believe in it, that the greatest acceptance that you could have is self-acceptance. If you're not being accepted into a gallery or an art show, that's a person's perspective, right? And it's valid for them, or a group of people's perspective. Regardless if a person is being accepted into a gallery or a show, I think that at the end of the day, the self-acceptance trumps any other acceptance that you could gain or have.
Yeah. I think we're going to take a break, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know where Michael is. We're going to take a break, and then we'll come back, and I got some more questions and more things I want to talk to Amir about. Are we still on the same schedule or no?
So we are still counting the ballots because there are so many wonderful ballots casted. So it might be maybe...
Want us to keep going here?
2 more minutes?
No, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, just 2 more minutes.
I got some more questions.
That seems kind of negligible, but yeah.
The next question we have here for you, Amir, is how should an artist handle not getting the most votes at Connect? There we go.
Find out who's counting the votes and slap them. I'm not too sure.
I guess it kind of goes back to, it's basically what we were discussing earlier with just handling it, a little bit of that feeling of rejection, a little bit of that kind of feeling of let down, and just learn how to use that as a stepping stone.
Yeah, I think, that we are really conditioned at a very, very young age, this idea that failure is a negative thing, but I really just don't look at failure that way. I think failure is an option, right? It is a possibility, and so many beautiful, wonderful, magical things come out of failure. And so I think that looking at failure as, I understand that we're conditioned at a young age, but we're also conditioned on Cinderella. It's not real, there are no glass slippers. But this idea that failure is a negative thing should just be understood that it is a falsehood.
Yeah. Next question, and it kind of falls in the same line as well, is how should an artist handle not being an overnight success story, and how do you manage your expectations?
Let's see.
I guess it's kind of all falling in a lot of similar questions, similar things here.
No, I like that question. I think that if you are not an overnight success story, you should consider yourself blessed.
But is anybody really an overnight success story? That's the thing. Is a lot of people, you don't realize how many years they've been working at something, how much time they put into it, and it's a lot of times the first times you see them or hear about them, and you don't realize, well, they've been doing what they're doing for 10 years.
Yeah, and then some people put a YouTube video together, and all of a sudden they become famous.
True.
A crappy one. I think that an overnight success story, if you don't become one, then that's a good thing, because of the fact that not being an overnight success story allows you to make adjustments, right? Like, as you are becoming a success, there are going to be times where you fail, or there's going to be an ebb and flow. Yeah. Whereas anything that happens quickly has a very, very, very steep and quick decline as well, And because they haven't gone through the fire, I guess, and been able to make those adjustments, they don't know how to handle failure. They don't know how to handle an obstacle. So I think that not being an overnight success is actually a benefit to your longevity.
Awesome. Are you ready, Michael? Are we back?
Yes, we are.
That was a good break, Amir.
It was a good break. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
For people that have stuck around, I want to open it up to you for just a second. If anybody cares to, because this will be up later for a recording. So let's, pretend even people listening, how, people that are listening, how you've gotten over a personal obstacle. Anybody else care to chime in on that? We can all learn from each other. I feel like we got somebody coming up here. If you want to grab that microphone over there. I think, were you on the last month? Didn't you? If you want, is it on? Is the microphone on?
I was last month.
Say your name again for the recording.
My name's Soroya Dendera.
Did you get a chance to listen to the recording by chance?
Yeah, I did, actually.
Awesome.
It sounded pretty good.
Yeah, we're learning. We're still figuring out the technical.
I mean, it definitely sounds warm, like we recorded it in a room, which we did.
Absolutely. Well, we wanted to get that live audience,
It adds a nice ambiance, I think. It's really nice.
So how do you, what did you want to say? I mean, how do you get over your,
I think from a standpoint of overcoming obstacles, like earlier someone mentioned, maybe it was you, that like you see obstacles as being like this opportunity to grow. And I really find that that's true. Like fear kind of has like these two different options. Like it can either be like impetus to grow and like try harder and like rage on, or it can be this thing that shuts down your prefrontal cortex and literally makes you stupid. So I definitely find that like beating that challenge of fear and like being intimidated, it teaches you to rise to the occasion.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to chime in on that, Amir?
I agree as well. I think fear could either be crippling, or it can be a source of growth. But it is a choice and a decision, and it's not inherently negative, right? So that's what.
Right.
At the end of the day, fear is not an inherently negative thing.
Well, I mean, like Michael earlier when he was like, "Oh, I'm terrified of like speaking in public." But I mean, it's like sometimes in the morning, like I get up and I'm like, "Oh, I have to work on this painting. I should paint," and all these consequences if I'm not turning out this new work. Like my SEO starts to drop, like my online rankings, like everything. So it's just like, okay, like even though this is like drudgery or like even though I have anxiety, like pushing through that fear is really its own reward. Yeah. Not even just for like the impetus of it, but for the practice of it.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing, like the whole experience of creating, it's a practice every day.
Well, thank you for your input.
Absolutely.
Anybody else want to chime in at all who's stuck around? I appreciate you guys sticking around for the second part of the podcast. We'll wrap this up here in a couple minutes, actually. I actually had a couple questions for you, Amir. Do you have like a preferred medium that you prefer to work with, like when it comes to art?
I would say that, my core is poetry.
Oh, okay.
I love poetry. I love the written word. I love the magic that can be created, the emotion that can be directed with poetry. That being said, I like to think of myself as an artist of life.
Okay.
I like to look at life in a creative, with a creative lens. So just approaching life creatively,
Who's your favorite poet?
Oh, man, my favorite poet. That's a great question. I would have to say off the top of my head, without digging, Edgar Allan Poe is probably my favorite poet.
Why is that? Why?
I think that he was dark, but he was magical. He reminds me of myself in a sense.
Really?
And this is a little bit probably too much information, but he reminds me of myself in the sense that there's dimensions to him. Like he was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and
So what are you saying here?
Well, I'm not saying I'm an alcoholic or a drug addict, but I am saying that there are many dimensions to all of us, and I love the fact that he, even though he had this dark side of him, he was able to create beautiful pieces, and I respect that.
What got you interested? I mean, what attracted you to poetry? I mean, was there a person in your life, or was there something that you went through?
Yeah, there was this girl. No, I'm joking.
Really?
There was no girl.
No, it's always girls.
It's typically. No, I think that for me, poetry at a young age was a way for me to escape my life or explain it, understand my life. It was a way for me, I didn't have a counselor to tell me why I was feeling the way I did. And I think that poetry was my counselor. It was a way for me to have a conversation with myself.
That's awesome. I've never, I need to explore poetry more. I mean, is there like a book or I mean, I guess check out some Edgar Allan Poe. I
think...
what would you recommend somebody like myself who's not an expert on poetry?
Do you like music?
I do. I love music.
The music is poetry.
Sure.
Break it down, get some lyrics that you like and, just the sheet of lyrics and explore that,
Sure.
without the instruments, just explore because it's very interesting. I think a lot of times we think of the music that we listen to, the beat and the rhythm being one of the main factors of why we like that song. But sometimes if we strip away the instruments, we explore like another element, something beneath the surface that connects with us, and it's sometimes the lyrics.
What to find inspiration, like when you hit a block or an obstacle, back to the obstacles. I mean, do you go to poetry, or where do you go to find inspiration?
Man, that is a great question. Inspiration, it's a struggle for me.
Yeah.
Because inspiration usually comes from, misery. Isn't that, that's terrible. But on a sunny day, I'm not inspired.
So what do you do? I mean, because you got to keep creating. You have to keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
But what do you do to pick yourself up, or do you just stay in bed?
And I'm not suggesting this for anyone else, but sometimes I'll create loneliness. What
do you mean by that? What?
I'll seclude myself.
Okay.
I will stay away from people who might make me happy or smile. My greatest my greatest moments of creativity is when I am
miserable,
in my lowest points.
Yeah.
And so I will create it. I will purposely create a low point.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love it. Anybody in the audience that stuck around want to chime in on that? If you want to come up here and grab the microphone. Not really? Well, that way people listening later to the podcast can hear what you have to say. And make sure that is the microphone on there? Let's see, turn that. And what's your name, by the way?
I'm Cass, and I am not an artist. I'm the least artistic person, as you know, that you will meet. But my question is, I've heard this very, very often. It's a common theme among you artist types that...
Hold the microphone a little closer to your mouth.
Like this?
Yeah, like that there.
That there needs to be a sense of misery. How did you say it?
Loneliness,
yeah.
low
point.
So
I hear that a lot among songwriters, musicians, artists. So I have a question for you artists, and that is, why does that seem to be a prevalent theme? I'm very intrigued by that.
I like that.
I'm very.
What do you think, Amir? Or
I would like to hear,
anybody in the audience want to chime in on
open,
that? I mean, let's get some open.
Do you all experience that?
Here, you want to come up and the microphone? Sorry, we're just recording.
I just had the question.
Yeah. And say your name real quick.
I'm Zoe.
Thank you.
I found myself that,
hold that microphone a little closer.
and not just in art, just in general, that the contrast of the lows make the highs much more significant. The highs don't have any meaning unless they have a contrast point, and the lower that contrast point is, the better the happy moments seem.
Sure.
And it's almost as if I could piggyback off of that, it's almost as if the high points aren't real, right? Without the low points, they're unbelievable. At least for me, in my experience, I need the contrast to believe.
Sure. Anybody else want to chime in on that while we're on that subject before we wrap up tonight here? Yeah, you got another one here?
I mean, really well said on both accounts, on all accounts. It's exactly the same as music, as art. You look at a painting, And if it was all light whites and yellows, it wouldn't really register. It wouldn't be striking. You need that rich darkness as a contrast, as you were saying. But I also think it's a prevalent theme because we, in addition to being these kind of ethereal, artistic, creative beings floating around our personal little spiritual planes and such, we're also flesh and blood humans living in concrete cities, and we look around and we see people suffering everywhere that we look. And it's not always easy to admit to ourselves, and we kind of, have to focus in and do what we have to do in life. But that's in us because we're all connected. We're all part of this family. Their suffering is in me. It's in my chest. And so I have to do something with that feeling, or else it'll just sort of corrode me away. And for me, art is the way to transmute that feeling into something positive and beautiful.
Awesome. Oh, yeah. We got another person. Make sure that microphone's on there. And state your name.
Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for Jonathan.
So you're all making art sound very romantic with this high and low stuff. And I'm not saying that we as people don't have highs and lows, because of course everyone does. But how can you make this a sustainable lifestyle if you're doing these highs and lows all the time? Like, what are you doing to prevent yourself from ending up cutting off your own ear and then hanging yourself the next day? You know what I'm saying?
Any thoughts on that, Amir?
That's a great question. So let me absorb for a moment.
Oh, you're fine, man. Or anybody in the audience, while he's absorbing, want to chime in?
Yes, please.
Excellent. What are you thinking?
A lot of my art really comes from my mental illness. In fact, I'm bipolar, and I've been hospitalized several times over it. And so, for me, the answer to that question is lithium. The way that you prevent it from getting out of control is proper management. But I also think as artists, we kind of get a bad rap for not showing up on time, or being people that are wishy-washy, or people thinking that we don't have integrity. And I think that the best way to battle that is to create routines that work for ourselves and make our health part of our process. Because if you can do that, the highs and lows happen, and it's dramatic and it's terrifying, but it becomes beautiful, and it makes it so that you can be functional and that you can be a happy, productive member of society.
Awesome.
I think that nicely said. Thank you. I think that managing it and it being sustainable, it's not something that, I'm just going to be honest rather than answer your question. It's not something that I've ever considered. I really am just living, and experiencing whatever is present at the moment, and not necessarily considering what emotions I should have or would like to have, even a year, months away from that. I am really just in the moment with that emotion at the time. So I don't know how to, I've never really explored that, and which is why I had to kind of take a moment and think about it, because I've never really explored the sustainability of my mental health, which is really interesting. And that's my truth and, honest answer to your question.
Awesome. While we wrap this up here, Nurture the Creative Mind, the organization you're involved with.
Nurture the Creative Mind, yes.
How can people that are even listening to this podcast, that are in the audience tonight, are you on Facebook, website? Give any information.
We are, all over the web.
Sure.
We are on Instagram, just Nurture the Creative Mind. We have a Facebook page, very simple, nurturethecreativemind.com. And then we are also on Facebook. And I would also like to plug that our organization is now the managing organization for the Ogden Arts Festival. So we are also.
When is the Ogden Arts Festival?
June 11th and 12th.
Okay. So people listening can come check that out. Maybe make the drive from Salt Lake up there.
Make the drive. It's going to be. We're really excited about the future of our organization. We also have a scholarship program where we give $2,000 away to 5 kids, and they're all like underserved, minority, first generation youth. And so our organization is all about just, helping the kids at a young age, but also giving them something to benefit from in the future, Yeah. So we're excited about the future.
Awesome. That's it for the podcast tonight, folks. So I want to thank everybody that's been involved tonight with Connect. Thank you, Amir.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Love Connect.
And the website, again, for the podcast is iamsaltlake.com. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes. That way, when this episode is up, you'll get it in your podcast player. And, check it out. I've been chatting with a lot of cool people here in Salt Lake. So thanks, everybody. Scott, what is your last name, Scott?
Tuckfield.
Scott Tuckfield. What got you interested in art? Let's start there.
Art? Oh my, I've been interested in art for as long as I can remember. I started out actually interested in comic strips. In elementary school, I wanted to be a cartoonist. I just loved how you could be playful and creative and have all this power to make these little characters appear and do things. It was just delightful to me. And then in middle school and high school, I got more into like fine art painting, expressing like my angsty side, and that was really satisfying. So I started going further down that direction, and I've just been doing it ever since. It's very cathartic and therapeutic for me.
What is your preferred medium? Like what? I don't know much about your art, to be honest with you. I haven't even looked at it here this evening.
Most of my stuff is acrylic paints on canvas. I sometimes work in oil, but it's mostly acrylics.
Awesome. What motivates you? Like where do you find inspiration or to create your art?
It's kind of odd. There is just a feeling kind of in my chest that sort of drives me to do it. And if I don't do it, I get depressed. I get sort of anxious and irritable. It's
a good
weird.
Release for you.
Yeah, it's a literal need that I have. And I've come to kind of just have to accept that over the years. It's like, this is something I have to do in order to be healthy. So I might as well do it as best as I can.
Now, are you from Salt Lake City?
I am.
What do you think of the art community in general? What are your thoughts on the art community?
Honestly, I'm kind of a newbie to the art community. I was not in art school. I've been working on my own, but I have been sort of a hermit the last few years. So it's just, I feel like I'm only recently kind of getting out and exploring it. But from just what these events have shown me, like, it's fantastic. The quality of work that I've seen here is just excellent. Over and over again, the competition is very stiff. So we got a lot of really talented artists around here.
What are your goals? Like, do you have any art goals? Like, where would you like to see yourself down the road or?
Yeah, I want to develop myself both creatively and logistically, pragmatically, practically. I want to turn this energy that I put into it in time and effort. I want to turn that into something that can support me, support my wife, and our, a family along the lines. And so I can have more time to work on the art, and so I can get better at expressing what I want to express.
Do you have any words of wisdom, a piece of advice that you would give to somebody listening that might be an artist, or they might be create something or anything, any words of advice that you would give to a listener right now?
I mean, it seems obvious, but you just have to do it. Like, you can't think about it too much. If you're thinking, I could never, I'm not talented, or I don't even know what to do, maybe I will want to do it someday. That's all nothing. You eventually just have to sit down and get the materials in front of you and just start doing it.
Just get out there and do it, man. Just don't. So many people, we were like, we'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it when this thing happens.
I'll wait until the muse contacts me. I'll wait until I'm inspired. Tom Robbins, my favorite author, says, like, my muse doesn't always show up, but she knows where I'll be because I'm there every day. To work with her if she's gonna come. And I think that's what you have to do is sometimes you're not gonna feel inspired, or it's gonna feel like getting to the gym, it's gonna feel heavy and it's hard to get the momentum going at first.
Yeah.
But if you just make yourself start, it'll turn into something really rewarding.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
All right, so I'm talking to Jesse Feveryear, correct? How you doing tonight, Jesse?
Sorry, what was that?
I said, how are you doing tonight? I know it's a little noisy in here.
Oh, I'm doing excellent. Just bringing in some art to show off.
Excellent. Now, what got you interested in art? I mean, like a really young age, or
in about middle school, high school, I kind of found a passion for photography. I went into kind of editing a little bit and started working with Photoshop. Kind of got a grip on that, but none of it really clicked until I kind of found other ways of changing files. I kind of run all my stuff through audio programs or code that can sort pixels and do other digital effects that almost force a glitch, and that's kind of where it all started.
What is your preferred medium for art?
It's kind of a mix of digital, glitch, and print. I do use a lot of Photoshop techniques along with the techniques of breaking the images that is what I would consider glitch. And then I focus a lot on print, too. I feel like the final print in digital is a really important part of the piece. It's how you're going to show it to people.
Absolutely. Where do you find like motivation, inspiration to create?
I mean, I am kind of a futurist. I really love a future aesthetic as well as kind of the ideas of the future. I kind of have my own vision of tomorrow that I like to push onto my art. As well as, I mean, I look to nature and kind of patterns. Textures really speak to me a lot too.
What do you do like when you get that block, that artist block where you just feel like I've reached a dead end?
That's when I go and I break some more pictures, and I break them even more, and I stack phasers and I put echoes on them, and I see what all of it does.
Yeah. What are you from Salt Lake here?
Yeah. Born and raised.
Born and raised. I mean, so have you been involved with like the local art community for a while, or is it pretty new to it?
It started last year.
Okay.
I started coming around the gallery more and kind of looking into local art and events that are happening here, and it's just kind of become a monthly ordeal now. Come on down.
What do you think of the art community here in Salt Lake? I mean, as a whole, pretty supportive.
I think it's excellent. It's a very wide variety of people that can all kind of get together under the same roof, and we all have different mediums of art or different events that we like to attend, but we're all really kind of strong and passionate about what we do.
Do you have any like words of wisdom or a piece of advice let's say a piece of advice that you would give to a listener that might be struggling, maybe they're wanting to create, they haven't started creating art yet? Is there anything you would tell the listener?
Stick with it and learn something, because when you know something and you know what you want to do, then you'll be able to apply what you want to do to that something.
Yeah.
But I feel like personal touch comes from learning and self-growth. You got to learn what you want to make before you can make it.
Absolutely. That's it. Thank you. So, do you have a website or anything, or no?
Right now, I'm on Instagram. I'm working on getting a website. So,
do you care if people follow you on Instagram to see more of your art?
Follow me on Instagram. I'm Jesse JESSE _Feveryear FEVERYEAR.
Excellent. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
All right. What a great recording with Connect. Again, come out to these. These are the second Friday of every month. I'm going to be doing a live podcast. We have a different panel every time. I'd love for you to be there. I'd love to meet the listeners of I Am Salt Lake. I'd love to know your thoughts. You can connect with me at iamsaltlake.com is the website. All the email address right there. I'm on all the social media. I'd love to know your thoughts. Hey, listen, there are a few ways you can support the show, and I Am Salt Lake can really use your support right now. I got a lot of stuff happening here with the podcast, but I can't do it alone. I need some support from the listeners. You can go to iamsaltlake.com/support. You can become a monthly donor for as little as $5 a month, and that will go a long ways with helping the podcast out. We got a lot of expenses with equipment, web hosting, audio hosting, travel expenses. Just my own personal time to even put these together is a lot of work, and it's getting a little overwhelming. So your support will mean the world to me. It really will, in more ways than one. If you can only make a one-time donation, you can do that at the website as well. But listen, the podcast will always continue to be free. I don't want anyone to worry about that. I am going to continue doing the podcast for free. So even if you can't make a donation, don't worry. I mean, I'm going to keep putting these out. There are other ways you can support the show. You can share your favorite episodes on Facebook or Twitter. on Instagram, whatever social media sites you use. Make sure to let everybody know about I Am Salt Lake podcast. Like I mentioned, Crucial Fest, head on over to their website, crucialfest.com. That's happening June 15th through the 18th, right here in Salt Lake City. Great lineup of bands. I'm hoping to actually get some of the bands on the podcast. And if you're going to be there, I'd love to meet you because I plan on hanging out at Crucial Fest this year. Hey, but listen, speaking of festivals, this is a really cool festival. I'm actually going to be recording at this one as well. This is happening really soon here, Saturday, May 14th. This is the Make It Louder Festival. Right here, it's going to happen right here in downtown Salt Lake City at the Gallivan Center. It's going to be from noon to 10 p.m., so it's going to be an all-day event. There is a great lineup of bands. Some great bands I'm stoked for, like Story of the Year, some Brogan Kelly, Broke City, Burnell, Washburn. This is a great lineup. Go check it out, milofestival.com. Like I said, I'm going to be there as well. I'm going to be doing some recordings with some of the bands. I'm going to probably be up in the VIP lounge area, which, hey, speaking of that, if you listen to the last episode, I actually did, episode 219. I did it with the Make It Louder Festival. I talked to Michael over there. We're giving out 2 VIP tickets, and that is good. You can find out how to win those VIP tickets, and you have that chance through the end of this week. Well, depending on when you're listening to this, Saturday, April 30th, head on over to episode 219. I'll put the links at iamsaltlake.com/220. That way you can go right to that episode, find out how you can win 2 VIP tickets to the Make It Louder Festival. Great package. Come hang out with me in the VIP room, drink alcohol, eat food. It's going to be a really, really good day. Hey, the podcast could really use some more iTunes reviews. It's been a while since I've gotten an iTunes review, and I'd love to know what your thoughts are. It helps the podcast out immensely, and they're just fun to read anyway. So head on over to iTunes, go to ratings and review. It takes you just a second. Leave the podcast a review, and I'll probably read it here on the podcast. That's it. I'm here every week. I got a brand new episode. I've been chatting with some great people here in Salt Lake, so make sure to subscribe however you listen to podcasts. Get out, enjoy the city, and support local. See you next time.